Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for joining us again
Always a pleasure.
for another chilling journey into the shadowy corners of history.
Absolutely.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button
Yes, indeed.
and give us a like if you are enjoying the show.
Much appreciated.
So tonight,
Yes.
we're plunging into the heart of Barcelona,
Beautiful city.
known for its vibrant culture, of course,
Indeed.
but also for some truly unsettling urban legends.
Oh, yes. Barcelona, like many ancient cities, has a rich tapestry of stories woven into its very fabric.
Yeah, and some of these stories,
Some of them...
like the one we're exploring tonight,
Okay.
tap into our deepest fears.
That's right.
The kind that make you look over your shoulder, even in broad daylight.
Exactly.
Tonight's tale is a particularly chilling one.
Okay. I'm ready.
The Legend of the Cannibal Inn.
Oh, wow.
Just the name itself sends shivers down your spine, right?
Yeah, it does.
So let's transport ourselves back to ancient Barcelona,
Okay.
Roman-era Barcelona, and imagine ourselves as weary travelers, seeking a place to rest and refuel.
I can imagine that, yeah, it's easy to picture you've been on the road for days, maybe weeks, and you finally arrive at the city gates exhausted and hungry. You spot an inviting inn, seemingly respectable, maybe even a touch luxurious.
Right.
The innkeeper welcomes you with open arms, promising comfortable lodgings and the most delectable meat dishes in the city.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, that's where the story takes a dark turn. This inn, known as the Hostal del Jury, wasn't exactly what it seemed. Behind its welcoming facade lurked a horrifying secret one that would make even the most hardened traveler think twice about checking in.
So the innkeeper
Yes, the innkeeper.
was driven by an insatiable greed,
It's true.
a hunger that went far beyond the ordinary.
A hunger for more than just food, you might say.
He targeted wealthy travelers, those who arrived laden with gold and jewels,
Oh, so it was more than just the food then.
offering them lavish accommodations,
Uh-huh.
but with a sinister ulterior motive.
Oh, I see. This is starting to sound familiar. A classic setup for a horror story, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The unsuspecting guest, lulled into a false sense of security by the inn's luxurious trappings,
Yeah.
has no idea what awaits them. Can you imagine checking into what you think is a safe haven,
Right.
only to realize you've walked straight into a nightmare?
A true bait and switch.
So the inn's beds,
Uh-huh.
specifically those in the rooms reserved for wealthy guests,
Okay.
were rigged with a cunning trapdoor mechanism.
Oh, no.
As the unfortunate traveler drifted off to sleep, the trapdoor would spring open, plunging them into the darkness below,
A one-way trip.
and that darkness led straight to the inn's kitchen.
The kitchen. Oh, no, that's awful.
A gruesome destination indeed. The guests now robbed of their possessions, and their life became the main ingredient in the inn's infamous meat dishes.
That is chilling to think that unsuspecting patrons were feasting on human flesh, completely oblivious to the horrifying truth behind their meals.
And the innkeeper,
Yeah.
driven by his insatiable greed, continued this grisly operation for years.
Wow. Preying on those who sought nothing more than a comfortable night's rest.
It's the kind of story that makes you wonder about the dark side of human nature, the depths of depravity that can lurk beneath a veneer of normalcy.
It really does make you think.
But the innkeeper's reign of terror couldn't last forever.
Right.
As with many tragedies, his downfall was fueled by a tale of forbidden love.
Oh, how so?
One of the inn's workers, a young woman,
Oh.
fell deeply in love with a newly arrived guest.
Oh, no, this can't be good.
Horrified by the fate that awaited him, she made a daring decision to intervene.
A classic tale of good versus evil, the innocent caught in the web of a sinister plot.
This young woman, risking her own life, becomes a beacon of hope in the darkness. What did she do to save her beloved?
She warned him of the impending danger, urging him to fight back when the trapdoor sprung open. She instructed him to hide behind the door as she entered the room, and when the innkeeper's henchman came to carry out the deed, he was met not with an easy victim, but with a desperate struggle for survival.
So this young man, armed with the knowledge of the innkeeper's plan and fueled by the courage of his love, was ready to fight for his life. What happened next? Did he manage to escape the inn's clutches?
With the young woman's help, he managed to overpower the attacker and escape the inn. He then reported the inn's horrific secret to the authorities, setting in motion a chain of events that would bring the innkeeper's reign of terror to a dramatic end. The authorities, of course, were skeptical at first. Such tales of cannibalism and elaborate traps seemed more like the stuff of nightmares than reality.
Yeah.
But the young man's insistence, coupled with the young woman's corroborating testimony, led them to investigate the inn.
And what did they find when they delved into the depths of the Hostel del Giri? Did the reality match the horrifying rumors that had begun to swirl around the inn?
What they uncovered was a scene of unimaginable horror.
Oh.
Hidden beneath the inn's floorboards were the remains of countless victims, their bones picked clean and discarded like so much refuse. The stench of death permeated the air, a chilling testament to the atrocities that had taken place within those walls.
Wow, so it was all true.
It was a house of horrors.
It's a stark reminder that sometimes the most terrifying stories, the ones that seem too gruesome to be true, are rooted in a horrifying reality. The authorities, confronted with the undeniable evidence of the innkeeper's crimes, moved swiftly to bring him to justice.
Yes, justice had to be served.
What was the fate of this monstrous individual and his accomplices?
The innkeeper and those who had aided him in his gruesome enterprise were apprehended and brought to trial. The evidence against them was overwhelming, and their pleas of innocence fell on deaf ears. The court, recognizing the severity of their crimes and the impact they had had on the community, handed down a swift and decisive verdict.
So they were punished.
They were.
But what about the inn itself?
Ah, yes, the inn.
What became of the Hostel del Giri, a place that had once offered travelers comfort and respite, but had been revealed to be a den of unimaginable evil?
The inn, its reputation forever tarnished by the horrors that had unfolded within its walls, was promptly shut down.
I can imagine.
Some say it was demolished, its very stones deemed too tainted by the crimes they had witnessed. Others claim it was abandoned, left to crumble and decay, a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most seemingly ordinary places.
It's a chilling image. The decaying structure standing as a silent testament to the evil that men are capable of. And the story of the Cannibal Inn, passed down through generations, serves as a warning, a reminder that appearances can be deceiving and that sometimes the greatest danger lies hidden in plain sight. But what's particularly fascinating about this story is how it reflects broader anxieties and fears that were prevalent in Barcelona at the time.
You're absolutely right. This tale emerged during a period of rapid growth and expansion for Barcelona, a time when the city was becoming a major hub for trade, and travel with this influx of people and wealth came an undercurrent of fear and suspicion, a sense that not everyone who arrived at the city gates had honorable intentions.
So the story of the Cannibal Inn can be seen as a manifestation of those anxieties. A cautionary tale about the potential dangers lurking within this bustling cosmopolitan city. Travelers, especially those perceived as wealthy and vulnerable, were often seen as easy targets for those looking to exploit them.
Exactly. The tale tapped into those fears, playing on the idea that beneath the city's veneer of prosperity and sophistication lurked a dark underbelly, a place where greed and depravity could flourish unchecked. It served as a warning to be wary of those who offered comfort and hospitality too readily, for their motives might not be as pure as they seemed.
Right. It's a theme that resonates throughout history, isn't it? The fear of the outsider, the stranger who arrives with promises of riches, but might harbor darker intentions, and the story of the Cannibal Inn with its gruesome details and chilling imagery certainly played on those fears effectively.
It also reflects a deeper fascination with the macabre, a morbid curiosity about the darker side of human nature. Tales of cannibalism, though often exaggerated or entirely fabricated, have persisted throughout history, capturing our imaginations and tapping into our primal fears.
There's something both repulsive and strangely compelling about such stories, isn't there? They force us to confront the darker aspects of humanity, the potential for cruelty that exists within us all, but beyond the horror and the gore. These stories often serve a deeper purpose. They can act as cautionary tales, warning us against the dangers of greed, deception, and unchecked ambition.
Precisely, and in the case of the Cannibal Inn, the story also highlights the importance of trust and the bonds of human connection. It's the love between the young woman and the traveler that ultimately leads to the innkeeper's downfall, proving that even in the face of unimaginable evil, compassion and courage can prevail.
It's a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness, a reminder that even in the most terrifying stories, there's always the possibility of redemption, of good triumphing over evil. But the enduring power of the Cannibal Inn legend lies in its ability to tap into our deepest fears, to remind us that the world can be a dangerous place, and that even the most welcoming facade can conceal a heart of darkness.
Yeah, it really makes you think twice about where you stay, right?
It does indeed. Sometimes the most ordinary places can harbor extraordinary darkness.
Absolutely.
And as we delve deeper into the shadowy corners of Barcelona's history,
Right.
we encounter another unsettling tale.
Okay.
One that speaks to the city's fascination with the macabre and the enduring power of urban legends.
I'm intrigued. Let's hear it.
This next story takes us from the grand inns and bustling streets of the city to a more intimate setting, a place where trust and vulnerability intersect the barbershop. But unlike the soothing experience we might expect,
Right, a relaxing shave and a haircut.
this tale is far from relaxing.
Yeah.
It centers around a barbershop on Carrer del Pou de la Figuera,
Okay.
a street that once teemed with life in 17th century Barcelona.
I see a barbershop horror story now. That's intriguing.
There's something about the intimacy of that setting, the sharp tools, the closeness of the barber to the customer.
Yeah, you're really putting yourself in their hands.
It's almost a recipe for a chilling tale.
Yeah.
So what's the story behind this particular barbershop? Was it just a case of bad haircuts or something more sinister?
Much more sinister. I'm afraid this tale, like that of the Cannibal Inn, speaks to the underbelly of society. The darkness that can fester even in the most seemingly mundane places. The barber in this story preyed on the most vulnerable members of society, the homeless.
The home.
He would lure them in with promises of cheap haircuts, a small act of kindness that masked a far more sinister intent.
So using their desperation against them, that's truly devious. It's heartbreaking to think that these individuals, already struggling to survive, became victims of such a calculated scheme. What exactly did this barber do to his unfortunate customers?
His services, as you might have guessed, went far beyond a simple trim. Once the unsuspecting individual was seated in his barber chair, their fate was sealed. As he worked his razor around their throats, he'd find an opportunity to deliver a fatal cut.
Wow, so this isn't just a bad haircut. It's a full-blown murder spree. And what about the bodies? You can't exactly dispose of those easily, especially in a bustling city like Barcelona.
He had a rather gruesome method of disposal, one that echoes our earlier tale of the cannibal in the barbershop you see shared a building with the tavern.
No way.
And in a horrifying twist, the bodies of his victims were transported directly to the tavern's kitchen.
Another case of mystery meat. It's almost unbelievable that someone could get away with such a thing, especially for an extended period. Didn't anyone notice anything amiss?
You would think so, wouldn't you? But accounts from the time describe the barbershop as dimly lit and emanating a foul odor. Perhaps patrons simply attributed it to poor sanitation, a common issue in those days. Whatever the reason, the barber's gruesome operation continued unchecked for years.
Until, of course, there's always a twist, right? Every villain eventually meets their downfall. So how was this barber finally caught? Did someone find a fingernail in their stew?
It wasn't quite that dramatic, but the barber's downfall, like the innkeeper's, came thanks to a single survivor. One of his intended victims, a homeless man, managed to escape the deadly trapdoor and alert the authorities. When they arrived at the barbershop, they were met with a scene of unimaginable horror.
It must have been a truly horrific sight. What did they find?
They discovered numerous bodies, some dismembered, others in various stages of preparation for the tavern's menu.
Oh, my.
The evidence was overwhelming, and the barber was swiftly arrested and sentenced to death.
Well, that's some grim justice served, but you mentioned this in urban legend. Is there more to the story?
There is. The tale doesn't end with the barber's execution. The crime had become so notorious, so deeply ingrained in the city's consciousness, that the townspeople demanded the building itself be demolished.
Really?
They saw it as a cursed place, a stain on the soul of Barcelona.
Wow.
And so it was torn down, leaving an empty space as a chilling reminder of the horrors that had transpired within its walls.
It's amazing how these stories, whether entirely true or embellished over time, can hold such a grip on our imaginations. And what's striking about both the Cannibal Inn and the Demon Barber tales is that they're not just scary stories.
Right.
They seem to reflect deeper anxieties about the city itself.
You're right. These tales, though set in specific locations and time periods, speak to universal feels about trust, vulnerability, and the hidden darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most seemingly civilized societies. They serve as warnings to be cautious, to be aware of those who might exploit our trust, and to remember that evil can sometimes wear a very ordinary mask.
It's a reminder that even in a city as beautiful and vibrant as Barcelona, there are shadows, secrets, and stories that send shivers down our spines, and these tales passed down through generations continue to fascinate and frighten us, reminding us that the past is never truly gone, and that the darkness in its many forms always has a story to tell.
And perhaps that's the enduring power of these urban legends. They force us to confront the darker aspects of human nature, to acknowledge the potential for evil that exists within us all, but they also remind us of the importance of courage, compassion, and the bonds of human connection that can help us overcome even the most terrifying darkness.
Well said. Thank you for joining us for another journey into the shadows of history. If you enjoyed tonight's exploration of Barcelona's urban legends, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and give us a like. Until next time, keep those lights on. And remember, sometimes the most terrifying stories are the ones that whisper the truth.